Hello everybody. Today we are going to talk about numbers and quantity. We are going to see large and small quantities. We are going to see decimals, fractions and huge numbers. Also, I'm going to mention some countable and uncountable nouns for everyday working vocabulary, and I'm going to give you a tip to check information when you didn't catch up the number you're hearing. Got it? Let's start. We're going to start talking about quantities. Large quantities and small quantities. We use these expressions when talking about countable or uncountable nouns which we don't know the exact amount. We don't know how much or how many of those we have. Let's start with large quantities. We have a lot or a lot of. For example, in my website, you have a lot of information. Huge, substantial, you can say substantial problems, wide, enormous. Then we have millions, could be another one, millions of papers. And then we have a mountain of paperwork. As you can see, some of them are countable and some of them are not. We're going to talk about that afterwards. Let's continue with small quantities. And we have a bit or a bit of. We have not many. For example, there aren't many customers interested in that. Remember that many is for countable nouns. As I said, we have customers. So there aren't many customers interested in that. But if we are talking about something which is uncountable, we are going to say not much. For example, there isn't much information in the book. In this case, information is an uncountable noun. This is the reason why we use much. A few. This is for countable nouns, and we have a little for uncountable nouns. For example, the booklet has a few pages. Pages is countable. We can say 5 pages. But little is for uncountable. For example, instead of saying there is not much information, we can say there is a little information. Tiny or a fraction, it's a little piece of something. Let's go with numbers. We're going to analyze this, and we're going to start by giving a decimal. For example, 0.5. 0.5, this is a decimal which I explain in a video. There you have the link, you can go and see it. And in that video, you have the explanation for this. Why we say not, why we say point, and why we say 5. Okay, well, that's a decimal, not 0.5, that's a decimal. If you have any doubt, go to see the video. A fraction, we can say a quarter. This is in the video too. We have a huge number, and for example, is millions of, okay, or millions, can omit the of, depending on the context. And then we have a frequency, for example, 300 times a day, okay? This is the frequency. I repeat this 300 times a day, okay? And I am tired of repeating it. Great. Now, size, we have 1, for example, meter wide, okay? In this case, we are talking about size. These are numbers. We're going to see some examples. Let's start by, for example, dollars. We have $29 $2.30. That's the correct way of reading this number. Here we have 228 meters. Here we have AC, which is the acronym for bank account. And the correct way of reading a bank account is number by number, similar to a phone number. You have that in the video I told you. Okay, here we have 677,928. This is a fraction, and we have 4/3. For example, he owns 4/3 of the company. This is a percentage, and we have 0.4%. Let's continue with 4,602 people. Another percent, we have 19.5%. And here this is a huge number, which is 296 million. Got it? Bien, si quieres practicar esto que acabamos de hacer, te dejo un link, un enlace en la cajita de información con unos ejercicios. Pinchas el link, me dejas tu email y automáticamente te llega un correo con ejercicios como este, con algunos listening, ya que sabéis que esto es lo que más cuesta cuando me lo están diciendo. Y no te vayas porque al final te explico cómo hacer para pedir por favor que nos repitan el número cuando no lo hemos entendido. Así que ya sabes, ejercicio, a practicar y quédate al final que los tips son muy interesantes. Seguimos. We are going to analyze some vocabulary, working vocabulary, which we use every day in the business world. And we're going to see if these nouns are countable or uncountable, because depending on this, we are going to use, for example, a few or a little, we are going to use much or many, and we can mention a number or not, depending on the noun. And we're going to see. Here we have statistics. This is countable. It's a countable noun. Information. This is uncountable. So we're going to have a little information. We're going to have, there's not much information. Okay, this is uncountable. People is countable. Be careful because people is the plural of people. Of person. Of person, because persons, this word does not exist. I explained this in a video. I leave it there, okay, for you to have a look. So, people is countable. We can say there are 3 people in the room, right? Customer, it's countable. People and customers, we're talking about the same thing, more or less the same thing. Time, it's an uncountable noun. We can count hours, we can count days, we can count months, we can count minutes, seconds, but the time is uncountable. As a general concept, is uncountable. Equipment is an uncountable noun. For example, we can talk about the equipment we need to do a specific job, and we're not going to mention how many of those we need because it's uncountable. Camera, this is countable. You can say that in my working place there are 20 cameras. Advice is uncountable. Yes? You can't say she gave me 3 advice, but you can say pieces of advice. That's correct. She gave me 3 pieces of advice, and that would be fine. Problems, this is countable. And pages, of course, is countable. Although you can say millions of pages, as I have already said before. Si te está gustando la lección, déjame un like, un comentario si tienes cualquier duda, suscríbete al canal y enciende la campanita para no perderte ningún vídeo como este. Y como siempre os digo, visítanos en inglesalacartaonline.com, donde encontrarás muchísimos cursos y servicios enfocados a los diferentes sectores laborales. Nos vemos allí. You know that numbers are everywhere in business, and sometimes you need to listen and write down a precise number. So you need to check that you got it right, especially when talking on the phone. Now I'm going to give you some useful expressions in order to check that information. We have, sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat? For example, could you repeat? Can you repeat, please? Did you say 305,226? Do you mean millions of customers? Sorry, can I just check 0.5%? These are some ideas. We're going to see these expressions because sometimes it's not necessary to give a precise number, but we can say an approximate number. In that case, these words are very useful. And we can say about 500,000, just under 1,000, over 200, and that's enough to give an approximate idea. That's all for now. Hope you liked it and see you next day. Bye bye.